All right, so today we're gonna introduce Botworx Mobile, which is pretty exciting. Um, it's basically a mobile overlay over the Botworx platform, and gives you access to the old platform using a mobile form factor. So I'll switch over to this tab. For testing, when you're in a desktop environment, you can go here and just select the option to switch to mobile. If you actually log into the portal and then into the platform on a mobile device, it's automatically going to load this up. When this is loading, you might have noticed, perhaps it's more noticeable on a mobile device, but basically the Botworx environment is sitting underneath this mobile skin over it. So it's using the same platform, same capabilities, just with a mobile form factor support. Um, you do have access to the file system and the capabilities of the file system. It's not really meant to necessarily be a space for doing heavy duty file related work. You can do lightweight editing, especially if you're on a mobile device. Um, it's here really for convenience. I'm sure there are use cases where it's nice to have access to the file system. For instance, let's say you're using one of the automations and you need to upload a file, you have access to that. You can upload from your mobile device onto the platform and then use it. Let's say you want to upload, a picture or something to feed into the AI or a document or that type of thing. So we'll test some things that we've tested before. If you open this up, it now gives you access to the sessions within the desktop environment. Usually you're session centric. Here you're automation centric, and you can switch between sessions on the same automation. So, whichever sessions you have defined for various model providers, you have access to it there. All right, and this gives us the automation interface here. Test that. You have access to all the multimodal abilities here. Speech, video. We have access to QR code scanning. This gives you access to threading ability. If you've followed our releases, you may be familiar with the idea of a conversation fork, where you can create forks of conversations within a given session. So this allows you to kind of join and leave those threads while maintaining the same session. This turns on dialogue mode. Automations within the platform are kind of programs you can think of. They are a combination of instructions and access to tools, and even logic embedded within the core instruction for the automation. It's when you run it, like when you submit an actual instruction or you speak to it, that program gets run. And usually, so if you run it every time, it's going to run the program every time, right? That's not necessarily what you want. When you are in dialogue mode, you may invoke an automation. It runs the initial program, and then you want to have a dialogue to follow up on the results that were achieved from that initial run. And that's what this does. It basically just turns off. It invokes an alternate instruction set that does not run the primary task of the automation. So if this was, let's say, a sales assistant, you'll have a bunch of instructions here that tells it what to do. Um, when it's done its task, yeah, you may want to follow up and tell it to do something else without including those original instructions. And the way you do that is through the dialog. And this is all configurable through the automation configurations, and you can read up on it in the documentation. We have access to the tools, settings. There are a ton of settings here that you can. Here are your tools, assistants, and you also have access to files here. These are contextual file system supports. Basically, it allows you could select things in here that then get included into the context as you interact with the model. So if you pull this up on the mobile screen, it'll be a nice mobile interface, very flexible. There's still some work going on in terms of mobile, things like notifications. There's some concerns with browsers, how they behave with mobile UI, especially for an application like this, which is kind of heavy. Chrome, for instance, will unload your application if it goes into power saving mode, for instance, which can be a bit annoying. But some of those are concerns that we're going to tackle over time. But this is really nice. I haven't even demonstrated a bunch of crazy abilities that you have. We'll get into those in subsequent videos. But here you're looking at the Solvent platform. You have access to it on the go. I'm gonna run some demos that we've seen before. The automations having to do with background tasks. I'm gonna run that just to show it working in mobile. Previously we showcased Vernon and Billy as background automations. So I'm gonna start Billy manually. In practice, you turn this on so that it runs automatically, but here we're gonna turn it on manually. As you can see here, Billy is loading up as soon as I open that up. So once we have things like notifications, mobile web notifications, we should expect to be able to perhaps see something like this on your phone pop up, even if you're not actively engaged with the application. There's another thing. I think the IDs on this might be a mess. Have made a mistake. This is the wrong automation tied to Billy. It's possible that the configuration has the wrong IDs tied to it. Yes. So unfortunately, we won't hear anything. Another thing to show here, while this automation is running, this pops up. It tells you that another automation is waiting in the queue to run. That's only because this configuration is set to run, I think, twice. And while this is running, and the gap between the runs is only a minute. So naturally that popped up. And you can even switch to one of these once the current one is finished running. But this is not going to run successfully, I don't think. Somehow there was an oversight here of these IDs. So we'll end it here, and we're going to update the Billy demo to make sure it points to the right automation. But in essence, what should be happening here is, you'll hear Billy, it'll read the email and do the same thing that it did in the desktop environment. A lot more to come, but now you can have Botworx on the go. That's the gist of it. And there's a ton of additional capabilities that we've built in that will showcase in subsequent